You're listening to the Throttle to the Floor podcast. Hey y'all, welcome to today's episode of the Throttle to the Floor podcast. I'm your host, Earnest, here tonight. Just myself, got a crazy weekend to unpack, so let's get into it. I want to touch on some other things. First, the NASCAR Cup Series. They will hold a Goodyear tire test on Tuesday and Wednesday at Iowa Speedway, my home track. Austin Dillon for Chevy, Noah Gragson for Ford, and current series points leader Tyler Reddick for Toyota will participate in the Goodyear tire test. Also, shout out to some other motorsports this past week. Casey Kane winning his first World of Outlaws race at Williams Grove Speedway in Pennsylvania. It only took him 29 years to get it done, going through team ownership in the sprint car world, and then of course his NASCAR driving days. But it's great to see over in the sprint car world. And in the Monster Energy Supercross Series, the Monster Energy Supercross Championship finally goes to Ken Roczen for the first time in his 13th season. He becomes the oldest Supercross champion at 32 years old, so lots of triumph there, and there's lots of it on this episode, but more on that later. IndyCar had a very wild race. We talked about not getting too distracted about the glory and the prestige of the Indy 500 back on the preview episode on Friday. No disrespect to the Indianapolis 500, of course, but at the same time, as we talked about last Friday, the Indianapolis road course is still a points-paying championship event, and it counts towards the championship. So you definitely didn't want to get too insanely distracted, and clearly it sure seemed like everybody did. There were plenty of big wrecks, including lap 1, turn 1. Pato O'Ward got spun around and ended up causing a multi-car pile up there. And Felix Rosenquist, he took flight for a second off the wheel of Kiffin Simpson's car. But, man, Ed Carpenter Racing, ECR, just what a brutal afternoon. Both Christian Robinson and Alexander Rossi had mechanical failures that saw them finish in the last two positions, 24th and 25th, on Saturday. Rossi, in particular, had his hybrid engine shut off right on the front stretch, and other cars zoomed past at 170 miles an hour before the caution was finally displayed. What was IndyCar officiating doing up there? And also, do we really need the hybrid system, since all the time it seems that it just causes more problems rather than fix them? But sadly, that is not the last time we will talk about officiating, or I guess television also, screw-ups. There's a lot of screw-ups this past weekend, so stay tuned for that. But as everything cycled out, all the chaos, it was Christian Lundgaard who made a late pass on Dave Malukas to score the victory. It's Lundgaard's second career win, his first win with McLaren after his first win came almost 3 years ago at Toronto in July of 2023, so long win the streak snapped there. Malukas comes home second after leading the most laps with 27. Graham Rahal, man, second, third place podium finish in the last three races. Good for him. Joseph Newgarden fourth, and pole sitter Alex Palou comes home in fifth, looking for another Indianapolis road course victory. Just got off a pit strategy and was still able to drive up to fifth, but that's about all he could do. But now IndyCar, they can finally fully focus their prep on the 110th Indianapolis 500, which is May 24th, Memorial Day weekend. But opening practice will be tomorrow, May 12th. So lots of work on tap for them. But our picks and our standings: I lead Bernardo by 143, Evan by 152, Stacy by 156, Haley by 192, and Noah by 226. So large IndyCar lead I have. I picked Scott Dixon. He got caught up in that lap 1. Turn 1 mayhem, but still managed to come back to finish 6th. Evan with Pato O'Ward not as lucky, down in 18th after getting spun, which started that big wreck in the first place. Haley with Will Power. I don't really know how to describe his weekend. His qualifying was absolutely garbage. Started dead last, but then kind of flipped the strategy and led 15 laps, during the race, and then after it all cycled out, ends up right in the middle and finishes in 13th. So, very roller coaster afternoon for Will Power, especially since qualifying was actually that morning, being that it was rained out from Friday. But Stacy with Joseph Newgarden ends up fourth, just another solid day. Solid day for Penske. Well, except for Scott McLaughlin, who was Bernardo's pick, who ended up 16th. But otherwise, the other two Penske cars, being Lucas and Newgarden, ended up in the top 5 there. So Penske had an alright day at their own track. So, yeah. And Noah with Marcus Ericsson ended up 22nd. Andretti, man, just what is going on with Andretti? I mean, Kyle Kirkwood finished 9th, but he was kind of a no-show after a terribly slow pit stop, which Andretti seems to be known to do lately. Will Power had his roller coaster of a day, and then Marcus Ericsson just ends up with another mechanical failure. We talked about the mechanical failures from last year on the preview episode last week, and it seems like they were plenty of those again as well this past weekend, but not good. Anyways, time to jump over to the other road course, Watkins Glen, up in upstate New York. We'll start with the Truck Series. It seems like out of the gate that this was Brent Cruz's race to lose. He led practice, won the pole, led 19 laps, but he lost control midway through and ended up finishing 7th. You will hear a similar version of that in the O'Reilly's race when we get to there. Brent Cruz, man, just solid road course racing. Just could not capitalize on a victory. Daniel Hemrick, he won stage 1 on strategy, and then there was Connor Zilic, he won stage 2 and led the most laps on the day with 28, which it seems like it was his race to lose. Then it looked like Gio Ruggiero could get the win until NASCAR claimed he jumped the restart, which sent him to the back when Ruggiero ultimately finished in 15th. NASCAR later apologized for making that call after the race, but yeah, another terrible officiating call. Just put it on the board. First it was IndyCar not throwing the caution for like 12 business days, with Alexander Rossi sitting right on the front stretch, right at the yard of bricks, right in front of the flag stand, just like, what are you doing? And then that officiating call. But, I mean, it wasn't all bad for Tricon Garage, I guess, as Caden Honeycutt took the lead on an overtime restart and led 2 laps, the final 2 laps, the 2 laps that counted, to score his maiden Truck Series victory. Actually, you know what? Let's just talk about Caden Honeycutt for a second. Caden Honeycutt, I personally believe that he put together one of the greatest 36-hour stretches that you will see by any driver, pretty much ever. First, he won the ARCA race at Watkins Glen before getting his first truck win later that same day. Then he flew back to North Carolina on Saturday for the Cars Tour event at Ace Speedway and swept that, winning the Pro Late Model and the Late Model Stock Car features in commanding fashion. So if you're counting at home, that's 4 races Caden Honeycutt entered in 2 days, and he won all 4 of them. Too bad his beer shotgunning tradition that he said he would do, it needs some work. It needs some work very badly. You would think 4 victories in 2 days he could nail it, but not really. He needs a class with Kalen Larson on that. But otherwise, dream weekend for Caden Honeycutt. Zilic, after leading the most laps, comes up short in second, and Shane Van Gisbergen also came up short in third. But don't worry, they got their own time in the spotlight. Don't worry about that. Hemrick parlays a stage 1 win into a 4th place finish, and Chandler Smith rounds out the top 5. But one more thing before we move on. Ram Trucks, career day at Watkins Glen as Kaulig continues to get better with the Ram Truck program. 4 of their 5 trucks finished in the top 12 positions, highlighted by A.J. Allmendinger finishing 6th in the 25 Ram free agent truck, and Minnie Tyrell, first career top 10 with an 8th place finish. That deserves a golf clap. Good job, Minnie Tyrell. Plus, Brendan Butterbean Queen now sits 13th in points, only 17 points out of the Truck Series chase. So great to see out of Ram right now as they continue to build their program. But our picks and standings in the Truck Series, trucks, man, the points battle has tightened up quite a bit. Stacy still leads, but by only 17 points over Evan, 22 over Bernardo, 112 over Noah, 127 over me, and 130 over Haley. But I picked Gio Ruggiero. Man, it looked like he was going to finish top 5 or win or something, but that penalty, that penalty that shouldn't have been a penalty, and NASCAR apologized for after the race. The thing is they ran multiple caution laps, so like you could have just gave Ruggiero his position back and made amends there, but no, you have to wait till the end of the race to do that. Evan with Lane Riggs finished down in 21st, but still scored a lot of points, despite finishing 21st, which is how Evan was able to close that points gap pretty tight there. Haley with Tyler Ankrum, just a pedestrian 17th place finish. Actually, all of us finished pretty pedestrian anyways. Stacy, the big reason why her points lead was so narrow is Ben Rhodes finishing 32nd after blowing a transmission. Somehow fixed the transmission, but it didn't really do all that much. Only finished 32nd, getting 5 points. So that is why Stacy's Truck Series lead has magically just disappeared over these last couple weeks. Bernardo with Tyler Reif ended up 14th. Ironically, ends up the best of our picks. And Noah with Grant Engelfinger, DNFs in 33rd. So tough deal for Noah. You'd think Noah could make up some ground in the points, but ends up losing some ground due to the DNF. But in the O'Reilly Series, yet again, just like the Truck Series race, it seemed like out of the gate, this was Brent Cruz's race to lose. He led practice. After qualifying was rained out, he started 4th. And he led 32 laps, which was the most, en route to a Stage 1 win and a second place finish in Stage 2. But again, the race got away from him in the final stage. This time, while making his final pit stop, his car caught fire, but he still settled for a 6th place finish. Brent Cruz is hot. He's in the chase cutoff now, despite running 4 less races than everybody else, because it was before he turned 18. So, I mean, now that he turned 18, he can run all the big tracks over 1.25 miles in length. But before that, he missed 4 races due to that. And even then, he's still in the top 12 in points in the chase cutoff, despite running 4 less races than everybody else. But I did not realize Brent Cruz was that hot. I did not realize he was so hot. His car would catch on fire, but okay. Connor Zudge and Shane Van Gisbergen, yet again, another run-in at the Watkins Glen O'Reilly Series race, this time on pit road. And while it was not nearly as serious as the crash that completely took SVG out of the race last year, it still took him out of contention to win with serious left front damage. Sorry, pit road's all backwards. Left front damage as SVG led 7 laps, but ended up settling for a 8th place finish. Once again, another car ended up demolishing some grass and did some rough landscaping. This time, Sheldon Creed, who got forced off of the track in the bus stop and just popped a wheelie in the grass before the carousel. It did not help that the grass was soaking wet due to the rain that had already existed all weekend leading up to them, which thank goodness NASCAR made the right choice and decided, yeah, let's move Watkins Glen back to September and into the chase next year. That was the right call. I'm glad. Watkins Glen in May up in upstate New York, it's rain, it's mud season, and clearly that showed that. But late in the race, it was Jesse Love. He was trying to conserve and hang on over the last 13 laps while Zilich charged all the way from 5th at 10.5 seconds back. But Zilich was in 2nd with 6 to go, and he got in the grass and tore his car up in the bus stop, and it looked like Jesse Love was going to hang on. But then last corner, turn 7, last lap, Zilich, he didn't even need to use the bumper. Whether or not Zilich would have actually used the bumper is something that we will never know, because Jesse Love locked up the right front tire and completely overdrove the corner, handing Zilich the victory. As Connor Zilich gets his 13th career O'Reilly Series victory, 2nd of the year after winning at Bristol last month. It's his 3rd straight O'Reilly's win at the Glen, and he completes his redemption arc in victory lane extra safely after last year's scary tumble where he fell off his car in victory lane, broke his collarbone. But yeah, climbed out of the roof hatch, sat on the car, or put his window net in the car before climbing out very safely. Even Justin Marks had a mattress underneath the car very, very safely. OSHA approved, Well, I don't know if I go that far, but close enough. Very, very safe. Good job, Connor Zilic. Very safe. No broken collarbone this time. You made it to the Cup race. Good job. Good job, Connor Zilic. Too bad you didn't do all. Well, okay, you did okay in the Cup race, but unfortunate flat tire towards the end. We'll talk more about that later. Jesse Love ends up second. Just Jesse Love, you would have managed to hold off Connor Zilic had you not overdrove turn 7. You conserved your fuel and your tires for the most part. You did everything right. You forced Zilic to push too hard and end up in a mistake when he got into the grass, exiting the bus stop with 6 to go. You did basically almost everything right, and then you overdrove the last corner of the last lap and lost the race. Man, just tough deal there. Taylor Gray finishes third. Ross Chastain, another solid road course run in the O'Reilly Series. It seems like he's very likely to do that for some reason. Ends up fourth, and Brandon Jones completes the top 5. Our picks and standings, I still lead in O'Reilly's points. Another slight extension of my points lead. I lead Stacy by 90 points, Haley by 197, Evan by 205, Bernardo by 231, and Noah by 289. I guess I say slight extension on my points lead. It's a large points lead. I picked SVG. He ended up 8th with 7 laps led. I didn't really think that SVG could win. He didn't really have a winning car all afternoon, but it seemed like he had a 3rd to 5th place car, and then the pit road damage kind of screwed him over, but he still finished 8th, so 8th is 8th. Evan with Justin Allgaier ends up 10th. Just a solid day. Started on the front row due to qualifying being canceled. That's about it. Well, I guess he won a stage too. Haley with Austin Hill ends up 11th. Just another quiet day for Austin Hill. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's weird. It's like we're used to Austin Hill just causing chaos and always being in everybody's business, and then it's just now we're getting quiet Austin Hill. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, that's up for time to tell, I guess. Stacy with Sammy Smith ends up 16th. Just, I don't know. Just another pedestrian day. A lot of pedestrian days. Same thing with Bernardo with Brendan Poole in 18th. Just a quiet day. Not a bad day. Just a quiet day. And Noah with Brandon Jones, the best of our picks, ends up in 5th. For like a split second, it looked like Brandon Jones could win this race, and that was evaporated immediately. But still a solid 5th place finish. Getting into the Cup Series, I mean, once again, I mean, it's like night and day difference. The O'Reilly Series continues to be the best racing product, coupled with barely any mistakes production-wise and broadcast-wise, but too bad we cannot say the same about the Cup Series and Fox. I mean, thank goodness that after this upcoming weekend's All-Star Weekend at Dover, that we finally get into the prime portion of the schedule. But I mean, gosh, Fox missed action, terrible calls. We pretty much had it all. Multiple incidents, probably should have, or at the very least could have been cautions, but race control didn't do anything. Catherine Legg spin off of Josh Bilicki exiting the bus stop. The dust-ups we saw with Carson Hocebar and Josh Berry, Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell, which they got into a heated discussion post-race that Fox didn't show either because it's Fox. And most egregiously, the Cody Ware wreck where he got sent into the wall in turn 6 and bent and pretty much broke the thing. Yet NASCAR decided, yeah, let's keep it green, and Cody Ware continues to just pace around the track at a snail's pace because his car is broken in like 17 different pieces and the wall's broken. But I mean, he almost ended up causing more carnage, but like no caution. And it's like NASCAR as the sanctioning body for this sport, what you should have done if we're gonna do over this situation, what you should have done is throw the caution, fix the wall, or at least make sure the wall is good to protect the safety of 1, the competitors, and 2, the fans in the infield. Because you don't really need a car going in the infield like it's, what was it, I believe it was 1994 with Mark Martin at Talladega ending up in the infield damn near, going through a guardrail and ending up in a fence. But, I mean, just, if a car can hit that spot in the wall and break the wall, it could happen again, and you don't really need a car in the infield, in the campground area. So, Just stop trying to compromise the safety of the sport. I mean, trust me, this is not the first time, NASCAR. You've done this plenty of other times. We know. But a lot of those wrecks that we mentioned earlier, all the dust ups, particularly down in turn one, that seems like where it always happened, which I guess it makes sense because you had all the constricted space on track with the tire packs down in turn one and on the exit of turn 5, the carousel. I feel like the wall, the retaining wall, if you will, of tires and stuff at the exit of the carousel, I felt like that was fine. I feel like turn ones should not exist, especially since turn one, like, no longer do we really see guys like go all the way out there on the runoff anyways, and now it's like there's tires in the way. So it's like if there's a brake failure down in turn one, it's like you're more likely to hit the pack of tires than anything. But I don't know, just I feel like the tire packs in turn one should not exist, almost like they're not necessary anymore. I mean, 10 years ago, yeah, you saw plenty of guys use that runoff all the time, but now it's like we don't really use it all that much. So I don't know if the tires in turn one are very necessary, but turn 5, exiting the carousel, yeah, that's pretty important. You don't really need Austin Hill wrecking guys again, but NASCAR and Fox, terrible camera work. You missed pretty much just about all those wrecks that we mentioned, but they really made sure to get a good angle on the tent that flew all the way from the campground onto the track in turn 4 at the exit of the S's, which brought out a debris caution. That pretty much sums up this weird weekend in a nutshell, doesn't it? Yeah, let's blow a tent onto the track. That's not that great. That's not that great of a deal, but while this race was not as bad as last year, it wasn't as boring as last year, SVG still dominated much of this race from the pole, leading 74 of the 100 laps. But late in this race, it got very interesting. What was interesting was under the last caution of the day at lap 60 for Joey Logano's tire carcass coming off, most of the field elected to pit, but SVG, Michael McDowell, Tyler Reddick, they did not pit, which it looked like that was going to screw them over. But they all pitted under green later, and they used their fresh rubber and just their cars being so fast and the fact that the final 40 laps were a green flag run, they all charged back from outside the top 20 to all finish inside the top 5 at the end of the day. SVG in particular came out 24th, 29 seconds back with 24 laps to go and made up that gap in just 17 laps to take the lead and eventually the win away from Ty Gibbs with 7 laps to go. Connor Zilisch, as we foreshadowed to earlier, he ran all right. He was up there towards the top 10, but then he pulled a Jesse Love and smoked his tire too hard, which caused it to go flat. And then Zilisch had to pit and ended up in 20th, which sucks. But he got the fastest lap, so whoop-de-doo. Consolation prize of an extra singular point in the championship standings. Does not matter. Zilisch is not making the chase. Not even close. It's a miracle at this point if he finishes like top 30 in the points. He continues to struggle this year in Cup. Trackhouse did better as a team, but I still think Spire is the second best Chevy team right now. And speaking of the top dog at Chevy, what happened to Hendrick Motorsports? Hendrick, they finished 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 36th with Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, and William Byron. Byron was the only Hendrick car that even had a little bit of speed, but he got turned around pretty early and busted a toe link, which left him multiple laps down and led to that 36th place finish. Elliott and Bowman were coming off a great momentum as they both had back-to-back top 5s, including Elliott's win the prior week at Texas, but that led to absolutely nothing. And Larson, the defending series champion, has now reached a full year-long winless streak in the Cup Series, which is crazy until you remember that him and Logano, the 2024 champ, both have winless streaks of over a year now, which is wild to think about in its own right. So yeah, the last 2 Cup Series champions have both not won a race in over a year. Do you put that up to Larson and Logano not being as competitive, not as fast, not having winning speed, or do you put it up to the next-gen car? I think it's a little bit of blame of both, but I don't know. Hendrick and Penske have both looked slow to start the year. I mean, Hendrick is slipping. I mean, Elliott's really the only Hendrick car with any winning speed right now, as he has 2 wins already. But from an organizational standpoint, Hendrick needs help. Penske also needs help, and a lot of teams need help. But Hendrick needs help if they want to contend, because Toyota is still the top dog as of right now. They are still the top dog. They've won a bunch of the races. I mean, they've won. Let me think here. They've won 7 of the 12 races, and then with SVG's win at Watkins Glen this past weekend, Chevy now has 4 wins. Ford still has the 1 from Blaney at Phoenix. But man, Hendrick needs some help. And Trackhouse, coming into this weekend, they needed help too. And yeah, they got some. You had Chastain win stage 1 until he got off strategy into the back. And Zilich ran good all day until his flat tire and whatnot. But you know what? SVG had that incredible comeback after pit stops to score the victory. First win of the year. Second win at Watkins Glen, which it comes back-to-back. He won there last year. His 7th career win. And SVG, he now jumps back into the chase in the 16th and final chase spot, 6 points to the good over Chase Briscoe as we head into the All-Star break at Dover next week. Michael McDowell, despite also pitting late, drives all the way back up to finish 2nd. Ty Gibbs still hangs on to finish 3rd. Briscoe in 4th. That's right, Chase Briscoe finished 4th, yet falls out of the chase, at least as of right now. And Tyler Reddick also comes back late after pitting to round out the top 5 and extend his massive points lead to 129 points over second place Denny Hamlin, who at the Glen could only muster up a 16th place finish. Man, 129 points. To think, in the next-gen era, I mean, that's something that's, like, almost unheard of. I mean, like, it pretty much is unheard of. Tyler Reddick's insane start just continues. I mean, we are 12 races in. We are a third of the way through the season. We're almost halfway through the regular season, heading towards the chase. And yet Reddick still has like a damn near 2-race lead in the point standings. Man, just Tyler Reddick is going to probably win this championship unless somebody can step up and challenge him and give him a run for his money. Or, Reddick falls off a cliff, which is also possible. We've seen it. At first, I thought Chase Elliott had a chance to kind of get up there and be in contention. He's got 2 wins. He won at Texas, but then Watkins Glen just laid an egg, did nothing. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if anybody can even challenge Reddick. We'll see if anybody can get in Reddick's zip code over the next handful of weeks. But honestly, I mean, he's ran good at Charlotte, and, Nashville, he's been kind of okay, so maybe somebody could gain some ground there. But then Michigan, man, he won there 2 years ago. So for all we know, I mean, I predicted that Reddick would have 8 wins by the time we got to Chicagoland in July. I don't know if he's going to get to 8 wins, but maybe 6. Maybe 6 is more realistic. I'm not sure. Watch how he goes out and claims another 3 wins by Chicagoland in July to end up making my initial prediction right. Who knows? But SVG's win is also the first time the 97 car has won a race since Kurt Busch's win at Richmond in the fall of 2005. So, cool little fact to note there. But our picks and standings, I lead Haley, but my lead has been chopped up like some fresh Buc-ee's brisket. Shout out Buc-ee's, even though I'm not sponsored in any way. Haley has chopped down her points gap down to just 37. So I lead Haley by 37 points, Stacy by 117, Evan by 162, Bernardo by 166, and Noah by 262. Noah's just in the basement cellar in just about everything except the Truck Series, just like how I lead everything except the Truck Series. Slight correlation there, I guess. I picked Tyler Reddick, who ended up 5th. I really thought that Reddick and McDowell and SVG were all going to end up screwed over that pit strategy, but you know what? It worked out. And it worked out for Evan, who picked Michael McDowell to finish 2nd, and it really worked out for Haley, who picked SVG, won the race, Led 74 laps, as we mentioned, from the pole, most laps led. Haley is the big winner, and that sucks for me because my points lead has shriveled down to almost nothing. So that's right. If you're keeping track at home, Haley has now won back-to-back races. I mean, there was that 4-race stretch from what was it? It was Martinsville, Bristol, Kansas, and Talladega, where I finished second, first. And then I had a bad run with Chastain, 26th at Texas. Haley won. And then even despite finishing 5th at the Glen, Haley wins again and has shot my points lead down to almost nothing. So not great there. Stacy ended up picking Hamlin, who pretty much was a no-show all week. Ends up with a pedestrian 16th place finish. Hamlin, only had the one road course win, which came at Watkins Glen 10 years ago. We are a long way from 10 years ago for sure. Bernardo ended up picking Christopher Bell. Bell was running okay, but then got into some beef with Bubba Wallace, which, again, Fox did not show. Fox coverage is terrible. Ends up 21st, and Noah Gragson started way down at 35th, ends up right behind Bell in 22nd. But real quick, before this episode gets wrapped up, I want to test out a new segment, brand new segment. I'm not sure about all the details yet, but at least for now, I'm going to call it How's Hocevar, which, if you're wondering, is exactly what it sounds like. What did Carson Hocevar do? So here it goes. Hocevar, well, he ran the truck race and obviously the cup race this past weekend at Watkins Glen. At first, he ran good in both, and he did not end well in either of them. He ran 7th in truck practice and 10th in qualifying before getting spun into the wall and DNF'd in 30th late in the truck race. And then despite running 2nd in practice and 11th in qualifying for Cup, he was pretty off a strategy for a lot of the Cup race before absolutely dumping Josh Berry late, which, as mentioned, Fox also missed that wreck. Fox is so bad. They need some serious help. I've always told myself, I'm like, Mike Joy, I love Mike Joy, great guy, but Mike Joy needs to, it needs to be like what CBS did with Ken Squire. It's like move Ken Squire away from the main broadcast booth and have him be like the studio host for a few years and then retire. Mike Joy needs to be in that exact same role. And I feel like me personally, Clint Boyer needs to get out of the booth. I feel like Harvick is fine to keep for now because, like, Harvick, when Harvick's on it, he's on it. But when he's not, he's pretty bad. And I think some of that rubs off from Clint Boyer, which is kind of why I want him out of the booth. But I feel like Rick Allen needs to get back in the booth. He's done some other broadcast work here on the side, but I feel like Rick Allen deserves to be in a booth calling NASCAR races, and I think Fox is a good home for him. And I met him a couple years ago at the Kyle Petty charity ride, which just wrapped up a couple days ago. But I feel like Rick Allen should get another role in the broadcast booth. So we'll see what Fox does. Fox, take notes. But most importantly, Fox, fix your camera angles. It was good that you fixed your graphics and got rid of the superhero graphics. Those were bad. But you still have a ton of work to do. You are still the worst broadcast media coverage of NASCAR. You need to fix these problems. Anyways, Hocevar, after dumping Josh Berry late, which Fox didn't cover, ends up in 28th place. Earlier today, Hocevar also tested his dirt late model like he said he would. It was some track in North Carolina, which that seemed to go well. I sure hope so after his spin and unfortunate evening at Spoon River Speedway in Illinois last Wednesday night, which I was there. That was pretty rough. And he started streaming and running Crown Vics at the Freedom Factory right before I started recording this episode. So good to see that he's getting some enjoyment there. But we've got another weekend in the books, man. We're 1/3 of the way through the season already. Big preview episode coming up on Friday with NASCAR All-Star Weekend at Dover. Truck Series, O'Reilly Series are running points races. The Cup Series is the All-Star Race, the exhibition All-Star Race, where all you want is to hold that big $1 million check. So we'll see who holds it. Christopher Bell won the All-Star Race last year, but granted, that was at North Wilkesboro. This is the first time that Dover has hosted the All-Star Race. This is also the first time since 1991, the year before, Charlotte, back when they used to host the All-Star Race, installed lights and, one hot night, that whole deal. But it's the first time in 35 years that the All-Star Race has been in the daytime, which I get it, Dover doesn't have lights. But why is the All-Star Race at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern? That's 12, high noon here, in Central Time. So I'm not sure why they did that, but yeah. And we also got NHRA in Chicago in town this weekend, which me and Evan will be at in person, covering all that, but we'll preview all that on Friday, but that's all we got for tonight's episode of the Throttle podcast. Make sure you tune in and listen and watch and download on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Check out the Chill Photography and Throttle podcast Instagrams and TikToks, and comment below. Let me know if that host of our segment should still be a thing. Let me know. But that's all we got for tonight's episode, and we'll see y'all on Friday.